So I promised myself I would never do a way back when, in the good old days kind of sermon. But I think tonight I need to. Christmas Eve is a night when we talk about I remember when, or way back when. It's uttered by storytellers. Often I remember way back when I was just a little boy, long ago. Way back when Christmas celebrations were incredibly different, at least for me. Way back when I was a child growing up in Boonville, Mississippi, didn't have fancy stockings hung by the chimney with care in our single-wide trailer. We had no fireplace, but each year my Auntie Annabelle, yes, the one who is quoted famously in this congregation, Jimmy Honeychild, humans is just messy. My Auntie Annabelle, she would put up her cardboard fireplace made out of a big appliance box on which she painted red bricks and a white mantle. This is an actual picture of the fireplace that's been inherited and is currently in my niece's double wide. It is worse for the wear. We'd hang all of our socks, the biggest one we could pull out of our chest of drawers, by the way, hang it on that cardboard fireplace. Way back then, my family didn't have money to waste on special fancy Christmas stockings that were used only once a year. People didn't have money to waste on special fancy Christmas stockings that were used just that one time. And we hung that hopefully clean sock on the white cardboard mantle of the fireplace, all 21 of us cousins. We were hoping that we were good enough to get some goodies rather than coal. Now, do you know what our stockings were filled with? What did you get when you walked in tonight? An orange. Orange, apples, and mixed nuts. Anybody remember those days? Come Christmas morning, we would all run to our Auntie Annabelle's trailer where the stockings were hung on her cardboard fireplace. And we would find ourselves so happy with the few things that were stuffed into those socks. Way back when, fruit was seasonal, and fresh apples and oranges in the middle of winter were a real treat. Now, I never really did like oranges much. I would always try to trade my oranges to my cousins for apples or for nuts, of course, but never the few coins that sometimes ended up in our socks if we were really good. Way back then, though, all we ever got under our tinsel tree was a couple of clean underwear and maybe a couple of clean socks. And that would, satisfy. Christmas was more than stuff. It was more than the wish list. It was more about really being with my down-home, crazy Southern family, feeling the warmth of family and the warmth of community, be it dysfunctional as it was. Feeling that we were loved in sometimes crazy and insane ways by my family. But it was simple, and it was easy, and there was no flash. And way back when, before Santa or Rudolph or Frosty or any of the sugar-coated Tinseltown Hallmark kind of stories, people celebrated Christmas differently. It was a simpler time. Life was just as complicated. Let's not fool ourselves. In fact, maybe it was even more complicated way back when, because we hid lots of things. The truth is, the way that we celebrated Christmas, though, has changed over and over and over again. And even in this place, it's changed. Do you know there was a time, way back when Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, didn't wear red? He was dressed in blue. Do you know how Santa got all dressed up in red? Coca-Cola. It was Coca-Cola that dressed Santa in red to match Coca-Cola's bottle. It was marketing for Santa and consumerism. Did you know way back then the celebration of Christmas was illegal in the fledgling colonies in North America, and There was even a time under Cromwell when the Puritans banned the celebration of Christmas in England, kind of like the JWs today. The Christ is an aspect of God that has been present in this celebration, though, from the very beginning. Theologian Richard Rohr, one of our favorites in this community, insists that the incarnation of God did not happen in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. That's just when we started talking about the incarnation of Christ seriously. Rohr declares that the incarnation of Christ actually happened 14.5 billion years ago with a moment we now call the Big Bang. Boom. That's when God actually decided to materialize and to self-expose, Rohr says. The mystery of Christianity, indeed the mystery of life, is that the spiritual and the material coexist, especially on this night. Tonight we celebrate the incarnation of Christ, the material and the spiritual, the incarnation of love that we call God, who is not some person in the sky, but rather the incarnation of the reality that lies at the very heart of all that is and ever will be. More than that, it's an incarnation of love, of real love. Love that is so hard to find in our humanness that it has to come from our divine selves. The incarnation of love that the nativity parables point to is the same love that was encountered in the person of Jesus of Nazareth. In this radical, free-thinking, boundary-breaking, justice-seeking, peacemaking, wound-healing individual called Jesus, the people discovered the image of God, who is love, in ways that shattered their understanding of reality. This is why the Christmas story has become such an important story for our annual celebrations of life. Everything about the Nativity points us to the reality of the spiritual in the everyday stuff of our lives. In the simple birth of a baby, born into poverty, in the struggle to be free, in our quest to love and to be loved in our world. It is here that Christ takes on flesh and dwells among us. Wherever we are connected in right relationships, which are very difficult to find, wherever we are in love, there is the Christ, the body of God, and the essence of life itself. To celebrate the Christ is to celebrate love that is born over and over and over and over again, like all those check marks on the wall. We love again and again and again. It's to recognize an intimate spiritual connection between the spiritual and the material, and to marvel at the reality that holds it all together. And I think it's held together in Jesus. So Christmas Eve is the time for stories about life way back then. But it's also time to take in the wonders of this very evening as we walk out into what is supposed to be a dry desert and has become a wet Seattle-like place to be living. As we walk out and we look forward to tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. I still don't really like oranges. I don't even like orange juice, but I eat them because they are healthy. but I love the smell of an orange broken open. So I encourage you, stick your nail into your orange. The sections, the membrane, the juice, the pulp, all tell different stories about the complexity of an orange, the complexity of life, the complexity of the mystery of the incarnation. How did this orange come to be from 14.5 billion years ago? There's so very much that we have yet to discover about this marvelous, wondrous, miraculous gift that we call life. And we celebrate tonight birth. So on this night of nights, when we are telling these old stories, singing the songs that we love with a different beat, let us never forget that there is so very, 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 very many things we yet do not know and yet need to be revealed, for it is a mystery. But for now, taste and see that life can be sweet and life can be good. Let the feasting begin tomorrow as we celebrate that once again Christ is born and dwells among us, and that tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and the tomorrow after that, Christ and love will be born again and again and again and again and over and over. I want to quote a great woman of justice in closing. Her name is Dorothy Day. Most of you probably know her. She's quoting somebody else. She says, "Love in action is a harsh and a dreadful thing compared with love in dreams." Think about that for a minute. Christmas Eve's kind of a dreamy night. We dream of love, and we dream of birth, and we dream of change, and we dream of something new on the horizon. My question tonight is, can we be love? Can we be love beyond dreams? Not the phony kind of, "How are you, Kitty, today?" And she says, "Fine," and I kind of ignore her and don't ask the deeper questions, right? But a love that goes that next level. Dorothy Day continued, and she said this after she said that. She said, "Strive to love your neighbor actively. In as far as you advance in love, you will grow sure of the reality of God and the immortality of your soul." So I say, love is hard. It was no easy thing to travel 200 miles, give birth in a barn, and try to find a place to live after that when you're a refugee family. Jesus was living love. Jesus was living proof that his way of love was going to be difficult and be challenging. God, who is Christ in love, continues to be the source of all that we are and all that we shall ever become. May it be so. Amen.